Happy Saturday. Blessings, everybody. Thank you for being here to the High Vibrational Wellness book, Signs and Symbols. We're so grateful for all of you who are here and all of you who will be watching this on the replay. This is very exciting for me to have you here and my co-authors, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. Wherever you are seeing this in the world, we thank you for your interest. We thank you for your wonderful reviews, and all of your feedback has been incredible. We have people here who are so excited. And, when this latest message came to us that we're in Barnes and Noble, my husband was sharing with me, imagine people walking down an aisle in Barnes and Noble and seeing this book, like, poof, right? It's very much a showstopper. But the wonderful thing, what today is all about, is that you can now have a much deeper understanding of what is on this book cover and why it's there, because without even knowing it or actually using it as sort of a healing modality in itself. And by that, we'll be explaining the symbols you're seeing. So first I'd like to do, and let's just, anyways, if you have noise in your background, be sure and mute. Otherwise, you can be unmuted, but otherwise, just to keep this recording kind of pristine. So what I'd like to do first is, for the authors that are here, I want to introduce you first. Just say your name, where you're from, and the chapter that you wrote, and then we'll kind of go from there. So let's just go ahead and start with Linda. Can we start with you?
Absolutely. I'm Linda McBee, and I'm from Maryland, and chapter seven is my chapter, and it's on cravings.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Denise, can we go with you next?
Hi, I'm Denise, and I am from Florida, and my chapter is on emotional eating and healing generational wounds.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Miss Karen.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Karen Rudolph, and I am from Sarasota, Florida. I'm chapter 3 in the book, Faith Unbroken, Transforming Adversity Through Words, Belief, and Resilience.
All right, Miss Carrie.
Hi, I am Carrie Connects for chapter 4 about intuitive intentional consumption, and I am out of Southwest Florida.
Wonderful. All right, Lisa Brown.
Hey everyone, I am Chef Lisa, also based in Southwest Florida. My chapter is chapter 19, and it's called Soul Sustenance, High Vibrational Eating for Free-Flowing Health.
Awesome. We also have, they could just say, do a wave, but Sandra McGill and Patrick Conlin, they are wonderful dear friends and amazing healers. And they wrote reviews in the beginning of the book that you can read from them. And I'm Lainey Savante Wilkin, and lead author, and wrote the Cosmic Roadmap to Conscious Eating, chapter 1. And we have a total of 25. They're not all here today, but I do see a lot of our foodie related, interesting, but not all foodies are in this book, because we have a whole range of healers if you come to read this book or will be coming to read this book. So we're here today to talk about this amazing cover. And that you couldn't even see it because I just held it up, but I'm glad it's on my graphic. So I want to introduce to you Ramona. Ramona, why don't you say hi, Tio? Ramona is the designer and of the cover. So first off, can I just have you unmute and give her a little bit of a round of applause? Because what you're about to see and what you are seeing is complete magnificence from this woman who's been, I've known Ramona, I don't even know how many, a long time, but 20 years maybe or something, if not more. And Ramona has always completely blown me away with her artistry, no matter what medium it's in. And even bringing forward the newest mediums of technologies these days, she just completely brings not only vision. I don't give her it in minute detail. I give her sort of a broader vision of what I'm feeling, seeing, sensing, all these sort of intuitive aspects, because I have such implicit trust in her that whatever I've conveyed, Spirit will kind of match up with her amazing ability to create with her own experience with Spirit, and then bring forward something that completely aligns. So I've worked with her on many things. And so anyways, Ramona, I'm so glad you're here. You could say hi, you could say a few words. You don't have to say anything. Your presence has spoken for itself just in this book cover.
Thank you so much, Savante. I really appreciate you sharing all that and introducing me. And I'm glad everybody really likes the cover. I'm really happy with it as well. Yeah, Savante and I have known each other since I was like 16, I think, so 20 years.
Yeah.
And we've done so many different projects together, and it's been such a joy to co-create. I'm an artist and a graphic designer, and this cover is a collage. So I took a lot of different images and layered them and built them up together. What you see there, and using Savante's vision and my guidance and my artistic skills, and it all came together, and I'm really pleased with how it looks. And when I create something, I use prayer and intention when I create. So I'm asking for Spirit to bring forth the exact imagery that is going to, it's sort of like a beacon or like a tractor, so that like when somebody sees it in Barnes and Noble or on Amazon or wherever, it's going to attract exactly the right people that are aligned, that need the messages in that book.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, it was so amazing because I wasn't expecting Ramona to know every single thing about the Food Healing Oracle deck, but she does know that I co-created the Food Healing Oracle deck. And for those of you who don't, I'm going to play you a quick little 1-minute explanation of that, because that does play a big role in this. And so I didn't expect her, but when I saw what came forward, I just was like, oh my God, because I was immediately interpreting everything. And I just thought, wow, Spirit is just right here with us in the creation of this cover. And the first thing after I decoded it was gather all the authors for a private group meeting months ago and say, so as before this book releases, I want you to know what this book cover is saying. And it was such an amazing meeting for them. I thought, oh, well, now we have to present it to the public, and here you all are, and those who are watching this and seeing it later. I hope you get a lot of what we're going to share here, and I'll welcome your input. It won't be just me sharing. And one of the things I wanted to also know as we get into the cover is that this is all very interpretive. So I may be seeing something and you may be seeing something differently. So everyone will have a different aspect to like what they're envisioning, but we're just providing a little bit of a roadmap. And if you see it, great. It's kind of like I Spy. But coming from the world of tarot and oracle my entire life, I almost see this front cover as a oracle card. And so to start with, I wanted to just give a background. I think I know the majority of the people here, so some of it bears repeating, but whoever watches this, and we have some new friends here, which is great. But about 5 years ago, I co-authored the first really of its kind that's this specific, called the Food Healing Oracle deck, in which we were very blessed to receive some intuitive guidance from the divine about food, and food as a spiritual messenger. And food had something to tell us about our bodies and what we're eating, why we're eating it, and how it's affecting us emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so as a result of the birth of that, which came forward intuitively in 2019, the deck came out in 2020, and there's since been now more decks. The teachings have continued to grow, and here we are all these years later into a much profound understanding that food is not just for how we're putting it in our mouth, but how we feed our thoughts and how we feed our soul, and what are we doing to nourish our body temple on all the levels. And that's why this book was now birthed so perfectly. What started as high vibrational eating which is the original title, and that's why there's a lot about food, really evolved into exactly what I mentioned, is having your ability to feed yourself on all the levels. And that's why all the co-authors in this beautiful project have offered all the ways we can stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? So I wanted to just bring you forward. That's why, and I said to Ramona, I said, it's not just food, so let's incorporate all the elements. And so this is the result of it. And that's why there's so many more symbols besides food there. But before we get started, and we're going to basically take the book, hopefully you'll have it, you know, you have one close to you, or you see the one I have behind me, and you can make my picture bigger, by the way, when I get talking, and you can hit those 3 dots and pin my picture bigger. But I'm just gonna, for those of you who are watching this and who don't even know anything about the Food Healing Oracle deck, I want to go ahead and play you a little recording to get sort of that party started. So give me 1 second and have that ready for you. And some of you have seen this and some of you haven't seen it for a while, but anyways, this will give you a quick little thumbnail sketch of what the Food Healing Oracle deck is about. All right, here we go. The Food Healing Oracle deck's nourishing wisdom from Mother Earth offers the reader a deeper dive into the messages that food has to offer. With 60 beautiful, vibrant fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices, you'll have the opportunity to learn how to support your body emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Filled with magical healing wisdom and practical gifts, there's something for everyone to learn in absolutely delicious and appetizing ways that tell you why you are choosing the foods that you do. Like the mango, full of joy, we know you'll use this deck in either its large or mini size and truly never look at food the same way again. And yes, absolutely, children approved. They love these cards. Get yours today at foodhealingdeck.com and see what real-time wisdom is all about. Yay! That was made a while ago. There's since now a second deck, and working on a third one that we hope to get out probably next year. And I'm proud to say that I'm partnered with Ramona. She'll be doing all the artwork for it, and I'll be writing. This time there's been 60 cards in the first deck, 60 in the second, but the guidance will be 44 for the next deck, and that'll be an amazing opportunity to share the foods that have now come forward 5-6 years later, and they're still coming forward, and the foods are even more high vibrational, including a lot of the herbs that are in my line of Nourish Your Soul teas. And by the way, a lot of you who know about the tea line and the incense line, Ramona is also the designer for that. All right, so shall we get started? Why don't you get your book handy? And at this point, I'm going to be mentioning some things that I see, and I welcome you. You don't have to raise your hand. Let's just go ahead. You could just, if you feel called to respond to something I'm saying, please do. And I welcome you to just see if there's something else you see that I haven't mentioned, or somebody else, because each one of us can see something differently. And I might call, if you're comfortable with that, I might call on Carrie, I might call on Denise, I might call on some of you if you see something in here that you would like to contribute that you're seeing. They have, they're intuitive food therapists. It's one of my certification programs. So I wanted to get their intake on some of the parts when we get to the food. But of course, all authors, please weigh in on when we see something. So what I wanted to do first is maybe start at the bottom. If you look just above the names, there is just the area there, and I can put my little, I don't know if you see my mouse, but hopefully you have your book handy. But there is a lot of, I think, Ramona, I see the flower of life. And if you can see that just below the names and behind it, if you blew it up, does everyone need me to put it on screen, a big picture of it, or does everyone pretty much have the book or have an idea of it? Y'all have the books. Okay, good. Majority. If you feel, put it in the thing, you know, I can grab a picture and just share that on the screen as well. Vote of hands. What do you think, Miss Carrie? You know, should I put a big one on? Or everyone has.
I was trying to figure out how to do that because I have a big one available. That's what I'm looking at because my book is beautiful, but what I have is even bigger.
Well, why don't you share your screen? Can you do that?
I can do that.
Okay, perfect.
That'll be helpful for others who see it later. That may-
Yes, that's perfect because that gives me time. While she's sharing, I'll be exploring with you. So if not, I can grab one as well. Yeah, there we go. All right, great. Can you make that a little bit bigger? Maybe that almost if you go beyond the names.
Let's see, because I just lost my screen.
If not, I'm gonna tap on Ramona.
Open that back up.
Yeah, because you can make this, if you make that bigger, there you go.
Big as it goes. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Everyone can get the sense of it. All right, so down right behind the names, you see a lot of the flower of life, right? Can you see that pattern? The flower of life is a beautiful pattern. It's really, to me, it's all about the cycle of creation and how we come into form. It's a real source that's represented by this oneness. Ramona or anyone else, does anyone else want to talk about to you what the flower of life means? Because I love that it's at the bottom and I love that it's behind the names because we are the creators of this book. We're the creators of these stories. And having the flower of life to me behind that as a basis is really significant. So does anyone else want to talk about flower of
I'll
life?
share about the flower of life. It's essentially, it's just basically circles, interlocking circles. So it's like each one of us is one of those circles. But when we work together and we find harmony and interlock together, then we can create this beautiful infinite pattern. And it does create this geometry that is the foundational building blocks for all life. If you look at any geometry, any of the platonic solids, any of the shapes that are molecules and cells, like when you look at things on the smallest atomic level, they're all following this geometric structure. So the flower of life is the foundation for all the building blocks of all life. And it's just circles.
If you, oh, sorry, thank you. Carrie, can you go a little lower? There you go. So then you can start seeing the patterning behind the names. Not the Sri Yantra, we'll get to that, but the flower of life, which is kind of below that. Okay, perfect. Ramona, awesome. And so for all of you who are just hearing that, how beautifully that it's placed beyond the, you know, right there is the foundation and behind our names, because we are the creators. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our way up. And the first thing that comes to me is the Sri Yantra. Boom, right there, like this amazing, there you go, thank you, symbol. And I love, there's lots of things that come up for me. And by the way, the little whites, people have said that they see those as little angelic sprites, you know, the white that's coming off of it and just above where my name, there's some white. Some people said they felt like those were little angel spirits. But the Sri Yantra to me is so significant. And that's one of the first things that when the book's pulled back, you see that. The first thing that comes to mind for me, and I'll get into all what the Sri Yantra is about, is that I look at the colors of how this was designed, and I think very much divine feminine because it looks to me like the colors of water. And for me, that's all very much about divine feminine in this receiving. And so now we're starting to receive. It's almost like the womb of this book, that it's where it's placed as the base. So if you look at it, and obviously to the left and to the right, you're seeing root, we'll get into chakras, but you know, from the chakra colors going all the way up, you're seeing the reds and the oranges. That's very much the root and sacral and all that. But I love how this is placed. But for those who don't have a whole lot of experience, I wanted to read you, and you can I wanted to read you something about the Sri Yantra, and then and Ramona and anyone else can weigh in, but I wanted you to hear something that I found, and I just kind of pieced it together, but this is kind of called the mother of all yantras, and it helps to fulfill your dreams. But what was very nice about this is that this symbol is something that will help you achieve a higher level of consciousness. And so that's what this book is about. We're all providing 25 ways for you to have a higher level of consciousness to create your own reality. That's what this symbol does. But what also I found, and maybe I'm a little bit on the nerdy side sometimes, is that Sri Yantras are recognized as pure energy. But what I love about this is the symbol is said to be a divine storehouse of energy, which picks up particular cosmic waves emitted by the planets and other universal objects. So immediately it's pulling things together and transmuting them. It transforms these waves into positive vibrations when they are transmitted to the surroundings where the Sri Yantra is placed, cleaning all energies of negativity. So for me, like, that is like this sort of beacon. You're coming to read this book, you're coming to read these stories, you're coming with your own stories, and you're finding something that you're connecting to in our book. The stories, these authors, where they've been, where they've gone, how they've come out of their traumas and into these new states of being. And I felt the Sri Yantra was so significantly placed there because really this is sort of an instrument of wealth, this symbol. So whether you're going for a wealth of healing physically, you're going through a healing process emotionally, you want more finances, better relationship, coming out of whatever is going on, I think this significantly is so amazing to me. Ramona, do you want to add to that?
I do, and I'm so sorry. I don't want to burst your bubble, but it's not the Sri Yantra. I've actually worked with the Sri Yantra a lot.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it. I don't know if anybody can see
No,
my
the bubble's not burst, but I'm
Yeah.
seeing it as a Sri Yantra. So
It's very,
I'm holding
very
that
similar.
vibration.
It very much holds a similar vibration, but it's more of like an organic representation of that. A yantra, so like a mantra is a sound that we make, and a yantra is a visual representation of that. And so it is a yantra, which is like a geometric shape that has a frequency to it. But Sri Yantra is very, very specific geometry that's like 10,000 years old. And this is different than that. The Sri Yantra is made of triangles, and this is made of squares. So squares are a little bit more about again, the foundational building blocks and about the material world and the physical world. So for me, this has a lot to do with like the physical world and how what we eat and what we do physically in this world affects
You all been going on into Sri Yantra, but like I said,
I think it's
that
totally
people
related.
can interpret it, because if someone
Yeah.
didn't know, they would say, oh, that's a Sri Yantra, or that is that. But yeah, I see the squares, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
What is emitting from it is that vibrational energy.
It does have that vibrational energy.
Yeah.
And also I looked at it as like a gem when I was putting it together. It's like
Ooh.
a gemstone, and also had that water energy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And very, very pure, like a water crystal, one of those pure crystal waters. Maybe that would be like the representation of water for this page, because that's such
Yeah,
an
because if we bring in the elements, but I also like the fact that you just mentioned that it's like a gem, because so much of when people read these stories, there's some trauma that was shared in some people's stories. And I think by the end of this book, and I wrote this in the last chapter, is that we are showing how much we can polish these facets of the diamond, how we have had some rough edges, and where that took us to come to where we are, to teaching the healing modality. Does any of the authors want to just touch
Yeah.
that part? Because I know there are a lot of rough edges that got polished. So
It's funny that you said, perspective and interpretation, because the entire time I've been looking at this, and it's square technically is almost the same shape as a diamond. I was seeing diamonds. Diamonds are something that my dad always gave to my mom, and they sparkle and they're pretty. And but the water foundation, but that's why I kept seeing diamond on diamond on diamond and pyramids, triangles. And so how everything was building on top of each other, and no matter how you look at it, it just kept going and turning into itself and outside of itself. And it's just yeah, it's
Infinite.
infinite.
Awesome. Anybody else? All right. So why don't you pull back? Thank you for everyone's input. Let's pull back. And then now we're kind of moving up the center, and then we'll be bringing in the left and the right. So above, whatever you want to call it, a yantra, a diamond, whatever it is that you're interpreting, the wonderful sacred geometry. Now we're moving up to is the grapes. And that's the first card that I will just interpret some of the food. And the grapes there, that's actually our attitude card. And it's one of the first cards on the deck that represents all the chakras and all the elements. And so it's really about having an attitude of gratitude, having an attitude of perspective, having this attitude of where do you want to go in your life? What are you willing to let go? What do you want to release? What do you want to clear? Where do you want to step in? So having that kind of strength of attitude right there, to me, is so powerful, because I'm just looking at that center row, and it's just, to me, very significant. Any other the intuitive food therapists or anybody else want to weigh in, or anybody want to weigh in on just sort of this, our attitude card, which is grapes? I just love it there. It also on the card represents lungs, and grapes are very good. They got resveratrol. If I get into the nutrition side of things, there's some really wonderful nutrition elements. And here, that's the center of the book cover, and we're breathing life into you by our stories and our healing tools for you in this book. So I thought, without even saying, let's have grapes in the middle, that they were placed there. I loved that. Anybody else want to talk about that?
Something you just said resonated with me when you said about the grapes grapes are also good for eyesight,
Yeah.
which is seeing. And attitude has been a big thing that I've been going through, even since writing the book and writing my chapter, when it stirred all those things up, and reading everybody else's chapter and seeing myself in their stories and how many similarities we all have to support one another in keeping our attitudes on gratitude during these tumultuous times. I think this community and writing the book and the community of authors has been very eye-opening for me. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Also,
Go ahead. Yes.
if I may, on a
Yes.
spiritual level, grapes are considered the fruit of the vine. So it's mentioned numerous times throughout the Bible, and it's the fruit of life. So it's in perfect order, perfect placing. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. So now we move up from the grapes into kind of going to this higher realm too. If you're moving up the chakra system, now we're kind of moving into the crown, if you think about it that way. And we've got that beautiful lotus, right? We know that's such a spiritually enlightened symbol representing beauty and fertility and prosperity. And also, to me, the lotus is like the phoenix rising through the ashes, right? These beautiful lotuses are blooming through mud and murky waters, coming out and like showing themselves into the world. Like, for me to see that as like the crown jewel, and that's who we are, coming out of these stories, recognizing ourselves in these stories as our authors, coming through what we've gone through to get to where we are, that we can actually now become healers and show you where we've been, and now you can do that too. Very significant to see the lotus right there on all those levels. Anybody else want to share on the lotus?
For me, it's like I can feel the growth, the opening up as you shine into the, not to go ahead of too ahead, but the way that these stack for me is from the ground and the water and the nurturing, the attitude you bring into it, you just blossom and the growth and the healing, and you're just open and reaching up. And it's just, it's been very inspiring to read all of the stories. And like you said, some people went through, well, everybody went through something to get there. And some people went really deep and vulnerable to share that. So it was an experience of opening.
Thank you. Anybody else on the lotus symbol?
I'm just noticing now for the first time that that whole center is all water symbols.
Yeah.
That's just really with the moon connecting right down to the representation of the diamond and the water and the bottom and the
And perfect. And then maybe touch on the moon, because that leads us right into the divine feminine of the moon, which is all this receiving energy. We are the readers, whoever receiving, including the authors receiving of these of the words that were written. Anyone want to add to the moon? Anything there? Talking about things coming full circle for you, maybe? Maybe you're having some aha moments when you're reading these stories, like, wow, I really relate to that, or wow, I've been there. Or you're having that coming full circle, like you made your way from chapter 1 to chapter 25, and now it's come full circle where you want to go next, how you want to heal, what are the different aspects. Maybe now you're going to learn to go soul shopping. Maybe now you're going to learn to do things different with someone's meditation or recipe or process in this book. Anyone else want to talk about the moon? What else that represents? Why that's so beautifully centered like that?
I just wanted to say I love that last comment that each of the center symbols represent water. That was not intentional at all, but it makes perfect sense, and it's so beautiful the way those things just synchronistically happen on their own or divinely guided. And that makes perfect sense that water should be like the core pillar for our healing.
Yes, perfect. Awesome. And I love the fact that, we talk a lot about elements, earth, air, fire, water, spirit. I share a lot about it in the Food Healing Oracle decks. A lot of people were talking about how they're moved by elements. We have the beautiful grandmother, Florida Mayo, one of the founders of the 13 Indigenous grandmothers. She wrote the foreword. She is all about creator and the elements. So we have a lot of that nature represented here as well. So I love the fact that the moon was there. All right. So anyone else on the moon? Because then we'll move on. All right. So to the left and the right of the moon, you see those little white, and I know, Ramon's like, I don't know what, it just how it came, or maybe it did, but these little white like spots, little electrified moments. One of the authors said that just feels like angelic presence to me. Like those are the angels touching in, and there's one to the left and one to the right there at the top, like to the left or right of the moon. And then there's a little bit down below to our sacred geometry symbol. But these elements at the top, kind of just underneath the subtitle, you see these people really, couple people have said that just feels like spirits checking in. Some people say they felt like that was a little symbol from their loved ones. That was what someone wrote to me. I just feel like they're just touching in a little bit there. And for me, when somebody wrote to me and said they felt like those were loved ones touching in, those little electrical lightning bolt feelings, do you see where I'm seeing those little ones? Just above the avocados at the top. Yeah, those. Yeah. So somebody wrote to me and said when they saw the cover, it reminded me of their loved ones. And I almost started to cry because they're right above the avocado, and the avocado is our healing card. And so for me, it was like them telling me like they're getting the nourishment and the healing for the ones who had passed because they were above the avocado. So I took that like, wow, you know, everyone's going to have something different. It's just like when you read an oracle card or a tarot card, we give you an explanation, but what they find is something different, just like the different elements here can mean something different to each one of us. But anyone else want to talk about avocado and healing? Because there's very something special being shown here with the seeds in and the seeds out. To me, I wondered if any of our food healers here and food therapists have anything they wanted to share about that.
I don't want to hog everything.
Go ahead, Carrie.
For me, the avocado is always, you pull apart, split it in half. You have that hard exterior outside, because so many of us protect our hearts. It's when I see green, it makes me think of the heart. And when you cut it open, sometimes things are going to be hard inside, and you need to pull it out to make space for the good stuff to come in. And then it's creamy and it's soft and it's delicious, but you have to go through the rough stuff sometimes and get that pit and to get all the yumminess. Make
I love
space.
Well, I love where it's placed. And if you pan out again, Carrie, that was helpful. The whole idea is that here are the creators of this book, the authors are providing you a foundation. And as you read through our stories, by the time you come out at the top, crown chakra, you have the sense of healing. And right next to the avocado is pineapple. And pineapple are actually our expansion card. So to me, those two together, Ramona's probably going, what? I never even knew this. Is expanded healing, right? We have the avocados and the pineapple next to each other, and they're above flowers. Above that, are those a particular flower, Ramona, or are those, I don't know what those are, but all I know they're beautiful. But they are holding this base to me of expanded healing, the pineapple and the avocados together. And you have the grapes in the middle representing an attitude of expanded healing as a result of reading these stories. Isn't that cool? Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Feel free to unmute. Now, nestled in there, and please, you can interrupt me at any time, please. I hope you do. See those apples in there? Apples happens to be our abundance card. So it's representing not only at the base, the red ones, but the green ones that are next to the avocados, that are next in the center there. That's just representing abundance of everything, abundance of love, support, wealth, health, expanded healing. So all of that is providing this robust vibration that's going on as interpreted through the Food Healing Oracle deck and a lot of what we teach you in the book. Okay, so let's look at, I see them as oranges. Other people might see them as grapefruit. To me, they're oranges, and oranges is our sunshine card. So I thought that was very significant just to have these rays of sunshine, particularly because we're having different levels of the elements represented. So we kind of got earth, air, fire, water, and spirit represented, whether it's through a food, a color, a symbol. So I really love that. All right, who wants to share about bell peppers? Anybody? I'm giving it to Linda. You're certified. I mean, there's a few of us here who can talk on what the peppers are.
The inspiration card.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
I'm going to tie it all together because I was really honing in on, I thought there were tomatoes in there. And I'm not sure if I'm looking correctly, but I have my book with me because I'm out of town. But inspiration and sunshine and the strawberries with the love and the grapes with the attitude are all nothing without the action.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where probably I'm interpreting it for where I am right now after going through the book. And then I had a little bit of an injury, And it really hits home to me how our attitudes, what we put into action, is really why we're here. And that's just kind of what I'm seeing as
Well, I'm not sure if I see
to me
the,
today.
yeah, no, I love it. So tomatoes is our action card. I'm not sure I see those, but I was thinking about, as you were saying that, next to the inner and the two green, smooth, like to the left and right of the peppers above our sacred geometry symbol.
Down here is where I would see a tomato, right there.
Well, you're
Next to
pointing,
the
but
apple
nobody
on
can
the
see what you're
bottom.
pointing at.
Well, we can, you know what, those may be tomatoes down there. I was
They
thinking
could
though,
be.
just above it, those greens.
I
I
think
was
if that's
almost,
what you see or that's what you feel, that's what you need to hear and take it.
yes, exactly. So if you look at those as tomatoes,
Yeah.
but if you, I'm concentrating above our diamond. Do you see those as cucumbers? Do you see those as melons?
I
You,
saw them as big fat grapes.
you saw those as what?
Two very large grapes that were just like
Oh, okay. Well, so interestingly, I thought they were cucumbers, and to me, that's our balance card. So when Denise was talking about everything coming, you know, you need the love, you need the inspiration, the sunshine, the attitude to come into balance with yourself. And I loved that they were anchoring like two cucumbers was holding the balance of our foundational self in
Well,
the
and then
middle.
you pull in those lemons for alchemy, and that kind of like brings both sides together, pointing in to the
Yeah.
attitude of everything. It brings everything back together to also alchemy about balancing.
I love that you mentioned the two lemons pointing in, because to me, it was about going inward to alchemize everything with spirit. And it starts within before we can, you know, make ourselves make the change on the outside. It has to start on the inside. So even the lemons being turned in, I thought had great significance about an internal relationship with your own self and the divine. Denise, you mentioned strawberries. So now we're looking at all the scattered strawberries, and strawberries are a love card. So I really love that. And then just panning out, having the ability to like see that this is really chakra system related. If you look at the root and the sacral and the solar and our heart and our throat and our third eye and our crown, and it goes, you know, there's more chakras than that, but let's just say with the seven, all the colors of the chakra represented, all the colors, you know, the aspects to the elements are represented. So it really has everything and then some representing the authors in this book and their teachings. Anything else? Anything on what we've talked about so far, or is there something else somebody sees that we might have not brought up yet?
I see something else.
Bring it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, being the butterfly as my as part of who I am and what I do, I see a butterfly in there as well, which is all about transformation and abundance.
I
And
love that. Are you talking about the whole picture in
the
itself is almost
whole
a
picture of
butterfly?
itself. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ooh, I totally, now I can't unsee that. Now I absolutely see that. Can you all see that?
Transforming abundantly is the way I see it.
Yeah.
The whole
Wow.
feeling just gives me that feeling of a nice warm hug. You look, it's bright, it's colorful. And every time I look at it, I feel like a different part just keeps grabbing me and it just makes me smile.
I would like to chime in here.
Please, I hope so, Peg.
First of all, Ramona did a fabulous job. It's just beautiful. But back to the moon, when I picked it up first, the light of the moon caught my attention first. And it was illumination, is what I got from that. And it was illuminating all the vegetables, the fruits, and all the beautiful, like the flower of life, all the way down to the authors, everything. So that's what I got from. I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. Thanks.
Well, Peggy, if you don't mind, and Ramona's in New Mexico, she doesn't know your iconic status here in Florida, but maybe share who you are and why it's so amazing hearing this compliment to her about this from you.
Well, I've been a tattoo artist for 40 years, and I appreciate a good piece of art.
Yeah.
Maybe that I could sum that up. It's like,
Well, yes, but it's more than that. I
Very
mean,
modest.
first woman icon to come to this town and this area, and she, her whole body is art, and she only creates art. So to me, this is so symbolic, and why this was the cornerstone. Like literally, couldn't without having a representation of the bigger picture. I mean, I remember when doing the food healing oracle deck, originally people were like, food as a messenger, what? And here we are 5 years later and 35 countries later. Yeah, and everybody eats. Let's understand better what's on our plate. But art also is food and nourishment. And when we see, like, it's like a canvas. Looking at the things on Peg's artistry on her own body, she could really appreciate it. So Ramona, I thought you'd love to know a little bit more about Peggy.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful job, Ramona.
Awesome. All right. Anybody see anything else you want to share?
Actually, I think I will.
Yes, please.
Well, first of all, I can't unsee the butterfly now. I
I
did not
know,
see
right?
that before. And so I think it's really important that you're sharing this because there's a lot more depth to it. But I keep going back to the avocados. Honestly, there's something very about the womb and protecting the project, the baby, which is the seed. And I just felt that has divine mother energy attached to that, the nourishment, even Flor de Mayo. And I was very fortunate to meet her in person when I lived in Albuquerque back in the 90s. And she sold some of her herbs in my bookstore. And so it was great when she became one of the grandmothers. I went, I know her. But the other thing
I hope she's going to watch this and have a good smile. I'll be hopefully seeing them next week.
We chatted. She'll remember, I think. But the other thing too, it's like you start studying it because we're talking about it, was the pineapples being behind Divine Mother and the birthing. And obviously it's already birthed and there's baby. But that felt like has Archangel Michael energy, like the pineapple's surface itself is not something you would want to, just grab. So it feels like protection. And
I love that because
it's protecting the baby and protecting everybody's, dreams and aspirations that this brings forth. And I'll close with, Denise, when I first looked at it, I thought I saw tomatoes first, but when we focused on it, I don't see them. I did when it was smaller. So thank you very much.
But
The
here,
art is
tomatoes,
gorgeous.
I love that. Thank you, Sandra. Do you want people to call you Sandy or Sandra?
Sandra. Yeah.
Sandra, perfect. Well, if you think about the tomatoes, which is our action card, it's also our fire element. So the fire element also indicates action, inspiration, activation, sexuality, kundalini. So there's so much fire energy of that action energy represented in the foundational root at the bottom. So is represented, even though it to some it may be and some that it may not be, but that red of fire is there.
Yeah.
Just piggybacking on what Sandra said, I'm so glad she brought that up because I write about that in the deck about how that really the avocado is like that female divine womb and that is the seed. And now this seed of this book is getting out across the world, right?
The baby is born.
Yeah, in multiple countries. But the way you're right, the way the pineapple, they look like, I'm not going to say soldiers, but they look like they're on guard. Like that's their crown and they're standing like their staff in the ground. And they are literally, I totally relate to that because they're literally just standing at attention and providing a safe border. And I wanted to mention that word safe because this took a lot for these authors to feel safe within themselves, to share the stories. And I know you all know because you're reading these stories, but it's also letting you know that when you read this book, that you can feel safe, that you can feel in this protective container, that wherever you are and whatever you're doing in your world, that you are now home in a cocoon, in a community that cares about you, have also endured. So something about what she said very much resonates with me, the way those pineapples also at the top, like, we've got you. And now it's okay to be safe, to let yourself birth into the next iteration of yourself. So thank you for that.
Exactly. Also, there's numerology in here that pops out because I'm really into the numerology
Yes.
that I've noticed. And, you know, you were talking about the 2 cucumbers, you have 2 peppers and the 2 oranges, and 2 is the number of balance. And you kept saying that word over and over. And I said, yes, it is. It's there. But I'm also looking at a lot of the 6s you have on here. So, you know, there's a lot of, you start counting, what Ramona has created here, that there's messages and numbers in here, I think.
I think so too. Very much so. Thank you. Oh, that was juicy.
Welcome.
All right. Anybody else?
Lenny, the thing that really resonated with me from the beginning, but I didn't understand all of it, is the mirroring. And after going through this process, seeing how, as we look in a mirror, and how we grow. And it's shown right here with the mirror replicate of the pictures. But so many times when we're in growth mode, we don't see how, as we look in the mirror, things look back at us.
I love that. Beautiful. And when you're reading something, I mean, they're reading your story, your upbringing, the things that you went through, and it is probably mirroring somebody else. Like, wow, she is really mirroring and voicing what is happening for me. And you're giving somebody permission to be okay with telling their story, or getting past that story, getting past that level. And you provide them that opportunity, as well as everybody else, but providing them the opportunity to get past their stories just by sharing our heartfelt and incredibly brave stories that have been shown here and written. Thank you, Linda.
Because it's always a positive after we've shared the hard part. And so then they begin to realize, oh, I can break through the hard part so that I can get to that juicy center, that I can get to those other blessings and things in my life.
Beautiful. Anybody else?
Also the pineapples. I love the pineapples going up because pineapples are all about welcoming. You see them on people's homes all the time. It's a symbol of welcome and into our space. So
Well, where we're from, Ramona and I, in New Mexico, and one of our authors, Joy Davis, who wrote about culinary therapy. In fact, I'll be there in New Mexico next week and doing a book signing with her. When you look at all the doors, not all, but very much a symbolic turquoise in New Mexico is a sign of good luck. And you see a lot of New Mexico homes are painted. So I'm just looking at the turquoise showing in our sacred geometry yantra symbol: diamond, square, triangle, tree, whatever. But I look at that color and I really relate to New Mexico and its beautiful essence of sharing what turquoise and welcome is all about. So I love that. See, pineapples in Florida is welcoming. You know, every stage probably has a different one. Patty wrote, I may have missed comments about what I think is the lotus. This is what captures my intention is the cover. Anyone want to touch again on the lotus? Ramona or anybody? Okay.
The
Well,
lotus was the growth, the connect the expansion between the pineapples, how everything is blooming and growing and expanding.
Okay, perfect. So Lotus, for you, Patty, and for all those, I mean, that's a huge signal, symbol. Everyone uses that. You see that a lot in yoga. You see that a lot in representing spirit, representing the divine feminine. It is about coming into your own, blossoming. But also, as I had mentioned earlier, what's significant in this regard about the lotus is that lotuses bloom and come out of muddy, murky waters. And that's what's happening in these stories. The intuitive healing therapies and Nurse Your Body Temple are bringing you into a new state of blossoming through crap, through stuff that you went through, stuff that we went through, and allowing ourselves to blossom in the next beautiful self of us. So the lotus blossoming like that, also representing the crown chakra, like we're coming into a higher state of enlightenment through this book. And so that lotus is very, very significant there.
And I get the lotus also as peaceful, very peaceful, because when you see them in the pond and they're just there, and it's like the dove of peace and lotus kind of hand in hand. So,
100%.
yeah.
And also represents fertility. You know, in our deck, fertility is our kale card, but fertility is this new beginning, this new lease on life. Very liberating. You know, like you talk about people who like, you know, have moon ceremonies and people who put their crystals into, you know, to crystallize under the moon. It's like seeing that lotus there as a representation of yourself. And you're kind of just surrendering to the divine in this beautiful moon, like just illuminate me into all that I have, all that I am, all that I will be. So I see that as such I just love it. Just love it all, love it all. And I love that you can look at it and see tomato, I see tomato, I see Shri, you see, you know, like it doesn't matter. It's all oneness and it's all okay. And I think that's what we're giving ourselves permission to be in this book, to be safe, to be okay, to be protected, to feel like you're not alone, to have community, all the things that we're offering you in this world here. It's not just a book. It's more than that. And just to wrap up, I'm just so grateful that the people who have shared their voices in this book are making such an impact. We're just so grateful. And if you feel moved by this in any way and you haven't written a review, please share your thoughts, because some people might not see this video and think, oh, it's an amazing book. That's beautiful. But you've taken the time to give yourself a gift to come here and see more behind the scenes of intentions and some of the non-intentions that were really just delivered to us by spirit. You know, we didn't, you know, it wasn't laid out that it would suddenly be a butterfly, and we didn't lay it out with any of those, because we created a vision, and the vision was created for the book. And then everyone showed up and said, this is where I'm called out of the thousands and millions of things in my life. This is the story I feel in this moment I need to share in this particular book. And it all came together. And here we are. And I'm just so grateful that you took the time to see the mysticism that we've implanted, embedded here. Our tagline is you'll never look at food the same way again. I'm pretty sure you'll see why, because you're never going to look at grapes and not have an attitude, some sort of positive attitude, I hope, but everything else that we've shared here. Any final comments anyone would like to share? You can go ahead and take it off screen now. Miss Carrie, thank you for sharing. Let's just see everyone's beautiful faces. Bravo to everyone's input. I wasn't going to put you on the spot, Patrick, but do you want, I would love your energy to tap in of anything you'd like to share, because you are a wonderful healer as well. If you feel called, no pressure. You're on mute, by the way, just so if you do decide you want to share. Can you unmute him? I don't know. Are we able to unmute him? Okay. Becky, anything anyone else wants to say? Any thoughts? Cynthia, you're here. You're a certified Tuda food therapist. I'm realizing how many people are here. If anyone else wants to comment before we conclude. Oh, Patrick, you're free now.
Yes, well, I want to say that the book was really a new part of my life opening up. And it wasn't just with one author. I mean, there was each one had something different that was really meaningful. And I started having second thoughts about my own personal life and how I'm living life. And it was just a joy to read it and to pass on and to meet some of the authors last week. That was so much fun. I want to thank you for helping me through this computer stuff, which I'm not very good at. I'm more or less putting my thoughts on paper. So
You did great. And thank you for your beautiful review of the book. I knew you would appreciate the signs and the symbols. Now, even having a more deeper understanding, I think that says a lot. So thank you. Anybody else want to share final thoughts?
Can I go back to the tomatoes?
Yes, please do.
Okay, this is from a gardener's view. You look directly above the bell pepper,
Okay.
the green directly above it. If you look at the stem, it's thick like a tomato. If you look just beside it, the apple has a small stem. So I
Oh,
think
there
we
you
got
go.
tomatoes, or in my view.
All right, tomatoes are represented.
I saw that too. They look like green tomatoes, so they're like in their young stage.
Right.
Yes. Well, you got
And
to take baby steps, right? You got to take a little bit of action, stay present, take some steps, see how the energy aligns. It'll show you which direction before it comes into full season. And if you look at, it may take me a second, but the tomato card in the Food Healing Oracle deck, it actually shows all the different iterations of a tomato growing on the vine. And actually, do you have your tomato card handy, Carrie? So while she's looking that up, so that's actually perfect, is that you got to start off with a little bit, you have to walk before you can run.
I have a question for Ramona, if I may. Do I have a second to do that while
You
she's
sure do. You have even more than a second.
okay? Underneath the pineapples and beside the avocados, it looks like basil. Is that also represented?
the big
The florals, the two floral,
it's
yeah.
not anything specific, that one. It's however you want to interpret it. You could definitely interpret it as basil. I see that.
Now I see that too.
And it also just kind of any kind of, it's more not as much a flower as it's like full like leaves, foliage, maybe some chard or any kind of greenery.
Hey, listen, I'm thinking now that Carrie's holding up the tomato card, so you could just show that. You see we got the green and then it kind of makes its way to red. But now you're talking about basil. So like I see a caprese salad coming on to represent everything here, people. That's how you eat with intention. Like, how do I put together, who knows what basil is in our deck? We have action. Anyone know? Not to put you all on the spot. What's basil?
Purification.
There you go. So you need to come into action and purify your thoughts, purify all the things that no longer serve you. And that's the sort of way when we eat with intention, we can actually create that affirmation for ourselves. We can create that frequency within ourselves. And that's what eating intuitive food therapy is all about, is eating the vibration of what we're going for. If we're eating with balance, we're eating those cucumbers. It's like I'm bringing balance into my body. And not only that on the spiritual level, but on the physical level, cucumbers are very much alkaline pH balancer for the body. That's why you have cucumbers in spa drinks and stuff like that. So there's a method to all that. And the chapter 1 gives you a deep understanding of how sort of the science and the spirit comes together with that. Anything else, by the way? Thank you. All of those inputs were great.
I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this project. It's so cool that it's a collaboration with all of these different healers and authors and experts. And it's an honor to play a little part in it and to create the cover. And also is super fascinating to delve back into the cover, because this was made several months ago, and to revisit with all of you and get your take on it and your perspective, and receive all the downloads and see how everything actually makes sense and tells a story and lines up. Like I said in the beginning, like you said, it wasn't created specifically to look
Yeah,
this way or to look like a butterfly or to have water symbols up the center. Like none of that was done on purpose.
yeah,
What was
I
done
know.
on purpose was that it should be divinely guided by spirit to be exactly what it's supposed to be, and to bring forth the right symbolism and the right images and colors and meanings that would convey the messages in the book, and that would attract the right people to read it and connect with the authors and receive the healing messages. So that was done on purpose, and then everything else just falls into place based on what I felt like was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
just amazed at how all that meaning came through. It's very cool to hear everybody's take on all the different symbols.
I thought you'd like it. I thought you'd like seeing, what sometimes when artists put stuff out in the world, they don't get to hear how it's made an impact. And I thought you being here today, you'd get to really feel how it's made an impact to people who read the book, but also to us as authors, and particularly to me, seeing all the representation. And I can't just wait for all you to see our third deck if you think this is great. But that's down the road. We'll get to that in another time. Thank you, Ramona. Thank you to everybody being here. And I just wanted to put into the chat the word symbol 20. And that is a code for this weekend. If you are interested in the deck or anything we have at the Center for Intuitive Food Therapy, if you can put Carrie or Janelle just the address to the website, anybody, please enjoy 20% off of anything, whether you like any of the signed books, whether you'd like to see what the Food Healing Oracle deck, try it out for yourself, enjoy it, see where it came from, understand it better, see where it came from, and keep sharing this work with others, because the book, as you know, has a lot of wonderful wisdom, and we'll be sharing more and more of how you can meet the authors at different events across the country, across the world. There are people putting together events in other countries with this. There are authors in Europe, Australia, and others. So thank you so much for all being here. Again, I am Lady Samantha Wolkin, and most grateful to be here. When I was told to go as the food oracle, I had no idea what that meant until I had an idea. But now seeing where this book is going and all the other books, people are really ready to embrace wellness on all the levels. So thank you. Blessings to all of you for being here, taking time out of your Saturday. Enjoy this book. Enjoy the cover. I will have this replayed if you ever want to show it with someone who didn't attend, to enjoy it. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart and hope to connect with you one way or another again. Yes, perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. Blessings. And if you want to learn how to save the chat, you can do so. And if you want to keep what was there. All right, so I'll leave that up. You can hit save chat. Thank you, Janelle. I know getting up, it's early in California and everywhere else you are in the country. All right, everyone, take care.
Bye.
Bye.